Excuse me, Richard, you're muted.
Okay, sorry for that. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard Kenyan. I work here at Nature Kenya as birding and membership officer, and also I'm the one moderating this talk this afternoon. Our today's virtual talk has been prepared by the Kenya Herpetofauna Working Group, the committee of Nature Kenya. And the title of the talk today is Saving Kenyan Croaks, Listen to their Croaks, Answer with Action. Today being the 28th April is a day that the world is actually celebrating, it's the Save the Frogs Day. That's why our committee has prepared this talk for you this particular day. And our presenter today is Dr. Beryl Bwong. I encourage all of you participants that we remain muted so that we give our speaker ample time to exhaust our presentation. And should you be having any question, any concern, any comments, feel free to share through the chat box and we will be able to sample all of them after the presentation. And also to let you know that this presentation is on record and we will be able to upload in our social platforms after the presentation. So allow me to introduce who our speaker is today. And Dr. Beryl Bwong is a herpetologist and senior research scientist based at the Herpetology Section, Zoology Department, National Museums of Kenya. She has over 20 years experience conducting research on amphibians and reptiles taxonomy, ecology, and conservation. She has published widely in peer-reviewed journals and also co-authored 2 books on amphibians and reptiles of Kenya. Dr. Bwong is a member and assistant patron of the Kenya Herpetofauna Working Group. She also had the privilege to serve in the editorial board of African Journal of Herpetology, as well as member of the International Scientific Committee of the 10th World Congress of Herpetology, year 2024. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome on stage our today's speaker. Welcome, Dr. Beryl.
Thank you, Richard. Good afternoon, everybody, and happy World Save the Frogs Day. I'm very glad to be here today to talk to you on the saving Kenyan frogs. But we're not just saving Kenyan frogs, we are saving everything. We are saving amphibians in general. So join me as we take the journey on saving Kenyan frogs. So we'll begin our talk by describing what amphibians are. Sorry for some technical hitches, but we're just on course, don't be worried. So amphibians are, the word amphibian is a Greek word that means amphi, and it refers to animals that live both on land and also in water. And it's a class of vertebrates that consists of 3 groups. We have anurans, we have salamanders, we have newts, and also caecilians. Amphibians have soft, scaleless bodies, which are permeable. That means that materials exchange can happen through the skin, and also the skins are glandular. Amphibians, unlike you and me, can regulate their body temperature with that of their surroundings. And also, unlike reptiles, they lay the eggs that are without shells. So these eggs require a moist environment for complete development to happen. So worldwide, we have about 8,891 amphibian species. That includes both, the caecilians, anurans, and toads, anurans, and also newts and salamanders. But majority of these, that is over 7,000 species, belong to the anurans. So amphibians can be classified into 3 general groups, as I've mentioned before. We have newts and salamanders. And newts and salamanders are amphibians with the tails, and they have 2 pairs of limbs. We do not have newts and salamanders in this part of the world. That is in East Africa, we do not have newts and salamanders. So what we have are the remaining two groups. These are Sicilians. Sicilians are limbless amphibians, and they are more worm-like. It's not easy for you to see Sicilians because most of them occur below ground. Then we have the third group, the anurans. Frogs are toads. These are the group of amphibians that most of us are familiar with. So we are going to focus mostly, as we talk about saving Kenyan frogs today, we are going to focus mostly on the two groups. Those are the Sicilians and also the anurans. So Kenyan's amphibians at a glance. I've talked about the global scale, what happens there, what about locally here? We have about 116 amphibian species. This comprises about 8 species of Sicilians, and the rest are frogs and toads. And this is not constant. This is still continuing. We have new species being discovered, like in 2023, a new paddle frog was discovered, and again, another forest toad, which is the only genus, and a new genus was described. So we are still in the course. We are also getting new record species that initially were not thought to occur in Kenya, but with continued efforts in, fieldworks, we are getting new records of amphibians. So 116 is what we have at the moment, but it may progress. So these Kenyan amphibians are listed under various IUCN Red List threat categories. We have 5 that are critically endangered. We have 7 that are listed as endangered. We have 1 as near threatened. Then we have 4 vulnerable and 5 that are data deficient, meaning that we have to do a little bit more work on this so that their status can be assessed. And then for 21 species, you only have to come to Kenya to see them. They occur nowhere else in the world. So this is a reason for anybody who is interested in seeing these 21 species, you must just have to come to Kenya to see them. So let's explore more about the 116 species of amphibians we have in Kenya. So I'm going to take you about 3 or 4 slides on the who's who of Kenyan amphibians. We'll start with the Sicilians. We have 3 main groups of Sicilians. We have the Bollinger Sicilians, which is represented there by the new kid in the block, that is endowed Sicilian, which was described around 2023. It's on endowed is a hill in Kitui County, so this is where this Sicilian was found. And then we have another second group, which are the ribbon Sicilians. For a long time, the ribbon Sicilians were thought to be Eastern mountain endemic species. Then in 2015, when some of us were doing research in Shimba Hills National Reserve, we were lucky enough to get a single specimen of this ribbon Sicilian. So this is what I call range extension. New range records that we keep our amphibian species numbers going up. Then a third one is the Tana mud-veined Sicilians, which is found in the Tana Delta, in the rice growing fields around the Delta. This is where you can get this species in Kenya and nowhere else. So we have another group of frogs, which are called the cloud frogs. They have a smooth skin, and mostly they live in water. So they're considered a little bit more primitive because they spend more time in water compared to other amphibians. So because of this, they are mostly aquatic. They have extensive webbing in their hind legs. And one unique character about this group of frogs is that the third toes on their hind limbs have claws. So sometimes that's why they're called cloud frogs. As you can see them, the black, we have some, at the tip of the toes, we have black claws, these 3 over here. So cloud frogs have the eyes located on the top of the head. You can never miss them. And mostly they occur in permanent water bodies. Sometimes when you look at maybe a swamp somewhere, you see them, like, they appear like they're standing, but with the head slightly above the water. So one feature you can identify this frog with is a tentacle, which is some long protuberance below the eye. And we have 3 species of these cloud frogs in Kenya. So here we just have Muller's cloud frog, which is found along the coast, and then the master-bead cloud frog, which is more of a mountain species. So from here we move to the toads. These are the group of frogs that most of us are very conversant with. When you talk about frogs, people talk about, oh, they have rough skins, and they fear them. They think that if you touch a frog, your skin is going to turn out like that of a frog, of a toad. So mostly toads are large. Their skin is, they have thick and very rough skin, and most of the time they're terrestrial, that is, they're found on land. Toads are the frogs, most of us that keep water in the house. I mean, if you keep a pot of water in the house during the dry season, if you look under that pot, the frog you're most likely to get under that pot are the toads. So toads have a large skin gland behind the eye called the parotid gland, demarcated by the red arrow. So this is one of the identifying features between a toad and a frog. Toads have this parotid gland, which in frogs is absent. Toads are also known to secrete a milky substance, which for some species, this substance is irritant. For example, if a predator swallows a frog, then it releases this milky substance. It's going to irritate the predator. For example, a dog, for example, it's going to spit the toad out, and that is a defense mechanism. For some species, this irritant is venomous, while for others, it's poisonous. So the distinction between venomous and poisonous is that poisonous has to pass through your gut, while the venomous one, if it mostly passes through your bloodstream. So you don't have to swallow it for it to affect you. But if you have any cut and then the substance is venomous, then it's going to affect you. And then, as I mentioned before, toads can be found around our homes and also in our gardens. And we have a total of 16 species of toads represented there by the dwarf toad and the Kirinyaga toad. And this is called the Mount Kenya forest toad. The one I was telling you that it's a new genus that was described in Kenya, and it's the only specimen. This one you see in the photo is the only specimen we know of this. So found in Mount Kenya. So we are still in search for more specimens of this particular species. So the reed frogs are what I can call our noisy neighbors. They're very vocal. They are small to medium in size, and they're very beautiful in color. The toes and fingertips are expanded into adhesive discs. As the name suggests, they are reed frogs. So these expanded toes and fingertips help them to perch on the reeds where they are mostly found. They have smooth skin, and they have horizontal pupils, and in between their feet, they have webbings. In general, we have 17 species, but the occurrence tends to be, sometimes regional. They don't occur everywhere. For example, these two are mostly found in the western part of Kenya. That is the Kakamega forest, Saiwa swamp. They're more related to the Central African Guinea-Congolian forests. And then we have these two, which are, we can say they're more present in the coastal forest, like the Parker's reed frog and the sharp-headed reed frog, most in the coastal forest, like the Arabuko-Sukoke forest, Shimba Hills. Plus the Agus reed frog is also a coastal forest species. And also we have the central Kenyan highland species, like the Peter's reed frog and the silver-blooded reed frog. So as I mentioned in my one of my slides upstairs, they are about the endangered species. This is one of them, and it's also endemic to Kenya. You only get it in Kenya. So further on, we have the ridge or the grass frogs. These frogs, you rarely see them, but as you move in grassland, you will see things jumping left, right as you move. So the culprits are this group of frogs. They have pointed snouts with long, powerful legs just to help them jump. And they're called ridge frog because of these lines behind the eye on the back, which range in size from 6 to 8, depending on species. And they are common in grass and along the water edges. So we have about 9 species of the grass frogs in Kenya. So this is the Savannah ridge frog, the Nile ridge frog. So for those of us in Nairobi, I believe you've heard that call. It's for the Savannah ridge frog. That call, you can hear it very early in the morning, and sometimes also in the evening and late at night. They call at different times, and that helps them, even if they're different species and they're in the same site, they call at different times so that they do not confuse each other. So last among the frogs I chose to show you, we have the bullfrogs. This is the largest frog we have in Kenya. It's about 14 centimeters and weighing slightly over 1 kilo. It spends most of the times the dry periods buried in the soil. You rarely see it. It occurs mostly in Ukambani area and also parts of Tsavo National Park. So we have 2 species in Kenya. One of them is the edible bullfrog. As you can see, it's called edible, meaning that you can eat it. So why Save the Frogs Day? From the beginning, you were told that today is World Save the Frogs Day. About 30 years ago, amphibian populations or scientists noticed that there was a decline in amphibians population globally. And what was unique about this decline was that even in areas considered pristine, without any human, intervention, amphibians in these areas were in decline. So several reasons were put forward, as I'm going to show you why this was happening. But then somebody thought that it's important that we create a special day just to talk about saving amphibians so that they do not go extinct. So Save the Frogs Day was established to bring awareness on threats facing amphibians and also what efforts can be put to save them so that we don't lose them. So the first Save the Frogs Day was held in 2009, and it's celebrated annually on 28th of April. So this year marks the 17th Save the Frogs Day, and it's mostly done in April, which in Europe and other countries is coincide with the spring season when amphibians are active. But also locally, you remember April is coincide with the long rainy season, which starts from March to May. And this is a time period when amphibians are also quite active. You see them a lot, and I'm sure between the last 2 days, we must have seen or heard frogs calling in various surroundings where we stay. So why are we losing amphibians? As a country, we do not have evidence of countrywide frog population decline. This is because we have limited work to document population status. We do research, but we cannot say that, this population we have the data to show that this population is declining. But there are several activities that are happening that are in general, interfere with the population. So among the causes, the number 1 cause is habitat destruction or habitat alteration or fragmentation. This happens in both aquatic and terrestrial environment. As we know, amphibians need both aquatic and terrestrial environment. So when we interfere with the aquatic environment, we interfere with the amphibian population because aquatic environment is where amphibians breed. And most of the time they spend in the terrestrial environment. So they need both aquatic and terrestrial environment. Also, habitat destruction happens when we clear land for agriculture. When you clear maybe Karura forest, for example, and plant coffee or something like that, we realize that you interfere with the natural biodiversity that was there. So when you clear that and you put roads or you put houses, all the biodiversity that was there, including amphibians, they lose their home. So this is one of the reasons why amphibian populations are declining. And also illegal logging in most of our forests. Also, we have forests dependent amphibians that need the canopy forest cover for them to survive. So when we do illegal logging, then we interfere with the habitats. So these are just some of the examples of what we have recorded as we move along doing research on amphibians around the country, what happens in our forest, forest clearing, timber, and also charcoal burning. All these affect amphibians population in one way or another. And also for the wet aquatic breeding populations, we have activities of filling or draining water bodies that interfere with their general populations. So secondly, we have the global climate change, which results in alteration of rainfall and temperature patterns. So you find this one, sometimes they confuse amphibians. So maybe amphibians were supposed to breed in March, they're getting ready to breed in March, the rain comes and it's very short, so that maybe they breed, the rain are not there for long enough for the eggs to develop and hatch into tadpoles. So maybe by the time they hatch into tadpoles, the aquatic water bodies are already dry, so they interfere with the breeding patterns of our amphibians. We also have chemical contamination. This occurs from our fertilizers and herbicides we use in agricultural areas. And also we have industrial residue. I mentioned earlier that amphibian body is semi-permeable, skin is semi-permeable. So it means that some of these chemicals can easily get in through the skin. So if the concentration of these chemical contaminants are high in the environment, they affect amphibians. And also we have the diseases and pathogens. Amphibians have diseases like we have fungal diseases, viral diseases, and a case in point is the chytrid fungus, which has been reported as a cause of decline of so many amphibian species, especially in the US, Australia, and also in Europe. In Kenya here, the chytrid fungus was found to be present. A study conducted and published in 2010 conducted as presence of chytrid fungus in 11 localities in Kenya, and it was found to be present in all these sites. But fortunately, they never found any dead amphibian because of the chytrid fungus or any amphibian showing any symptoms of having been infected by the fungus. But people say that the chytrid fungus has always been there with amphibians, but because of some changes in the environment, like climate change, pollution, it turns now to be infectious and start attacking the amphibians. So we should not be sit pretty thinking that the chytrid fungus is not hampering the population of amphibians we have, but other environmental factors can play a role and make this chytrid fungus turn to be a dangerous disease affecting our amphibians. Another cause, invasive species. Invasive species can bring competition with the natural amphibian population, or they can also turn out to be predators. But so far, we have not found any invasive amphibian species that is affecting our population currently. And also overexploitation for food. In Kenya, we do not eat amphibians, but amphibians are used a lot in research. I believe most of us did some dissection of one or two amphibian species in our biology courses. Amphibians are also collected as baits, especially for the fishing communities. So all these, because they're not regulated, they can interfere with the population of amphibians that we have. And also another thing is that most of us we know very little about amphibians. So somebody may ask, why should I have amphibian in my compound? They do not feel, they did not feel that amphibians are important enough for them to save them. So there's need for people to learn more about amphibians so that they are motivated to save them. So why are amphibians vulnerable of all the causes that I mentioned above? One of the reasons why amphibians are vulnerable is because of their morphological or physiological traits. For example, amphibians are small in size, and they are the smallest terrestrial vertebrates. And for this, couple this with the semi-permeable skin, you know about surface area to volume. So anything that happens, because they're small in size, they really get the impact of whatever is happening in the environment because of their small surface area to volume ratio effect. Then amphibians also are ectothermic. So this limits their dispersal ability. So for example, amphibian habitat has been interfered with. It needs to migrate maybe from point A to point B, and it might not be able to do that because of the ectothermic metabolism trait, so that it can only be able to move a short distance. And also when the sun gets too high, it cannot continue, it has to stop, because if it walks again in that scorching sun, it may desiccate because it loses water through the skin. So this ectothermic metabolism interfere with their dispersal ability. And also the semi-permeable skin, I've also mentioned that because of this, they are able to lose water through desiccation, and also synthetic materials can get into their body because of the permeable skin. And also behavioral traits that makes amphibians vulnerable are things like limited dispersal ability, especially for aquatic animals. So if aquatic, maybe this wetland A has been drained or filled, amphibians need to move from that aquatic, point A to point B. And then in between, there is no water that can help it move to the next point. So this one is also a hindrance that makes them vulnerable to some of these activities. Then anti-predator behavior. This is mostly for the tadpoles. They tend to develop anti-predator behavior that are species-specific, so that if an invasive species or if a new predator comes, they become vulnerable because what they are prepared for is maybe a frog, then a fish is introduced. They don't know how to deal with the fish, so the fish is just going to feed on them. So this is also something that makes them vulnerable. And also life history and reproductive traits. Amphibians are water dependent, either for those who lay eggs in water, and even the ones that do not lay eggs in water, they need a moist environment for their eggs to develop. So because they depend on water, if there's no water, if there's no rain, they lay eggs and the eggs are going to desiccate. There will be no new young ones coming out. So that one also makes them vulnerable to all these things. Then you also use multiple habitats. So if habitat A is interfered with, they're going to die. If habitat B is interfered with, they're going to die because they depend on both habitats for them to complete their life cycle. And also the complex life cycle of amphibians, we know most of them have the eggs, tadpoles, then tadpoles metamorphose into adult life. So at each and every stage in their complex life cycle, they become vulnerable. If eggs are laid in the water is drained, they become vulnerable. If the eggs manage to hatch into tadpoles, and then maybe the water drains or it gets finished before the tadpoles metamorphose into adults, they are vulnerable. And also as adults, whether they are aquatic or terrestrial, they become vulnerable. So the question is, can you save the frogs? Today is World Frogs, Save the Frogs Day. One of the things you can do is to learn about amphibians in general. You cannot save that word that you do not know. So in our surroundings, we have so many amphibians. Just take time to learn about them. What happens? Who are they? How many calls can you listen to in your background? When do they call? What time do they start calling? What time do they stop calling? What happens to them when it's dry? How come they only call at night? At daytime, you don't see them, you don't hear them call. But again, where do they go when the rain stops? So if you learn about this, you get to know more about them. You don't have to register for any course. It's just something you can do on your background to help you get to know the amphibians in your surrounding, because you can only save that which is in your surrounding. So we can also save amphibians by incorporating amphibians management practices into existing protected areas. Protected areas were created based on various categories, but there's none that is specific to amphibians management practices. So what can be done is that already existing protected areas, put certain practices that favor the survival of amphibians. Maybe when roads are being upgraded, do not fill all those puddles on the road, because there's amphibians that depends on these puddles, where they lay eggs. Within 3 weeks, the eggs have hatched and they've developed, and the tadpoles have metamorphosed. And so each and every amphibian habitat is important. Or when maybe parks and lodges complain that, oh, there's a swamp next to the lodge within a protected area, and the amphibians are making the visitors not to sleep, find a way of ensuring the survival of these amphibians, and also the comfortable stay of the visitors. Also resolve conflict in management practices between amphibians and other species. And we also advise to conserve new areas of high species diversity. If an area is not to have high amphibian diversity and currently is not under any kind of protection, can it just be safe for the sake of protecting amphibians, and not because of the bigger animals that normally protected areas are created to conserve? And we are also to maintain and restore temporary wetlands that I've mentioned above, and also maintain ecological connectivity between landscapes. As I mentioned, amphibians can be staying in a forest, but the pond or the wetland where they breed is some meters away. So make sure that there's some connectivity between these two habitats, because they're all important for the survival of amphibians. And also you can compensate for the destroyed wetlands. Maybe you can create an artificial wetland so that amphibians that you destroyed their habitat by filling a wetland A can learn to conquer the wetland you've created. So anytime you destroy a habitat, try to compensate for it in other ways. And also maintain plant and buffer around ponds and streams, because most of the time amphibians are in the buffers. They are never really inside the ponds unless they are breeding. So the ponds can be there, but if it doesn't have a buffer around it, it does not provide a good environment for the animals to stay. And also new roads to be placed away from breeding habitats, or which I know sometimes is not very easy, but should it be done, should this not be possible, then you provide a crossing point using tunnels where amphibians can be able to cross from one habitat to the other. And also distribution of research resources. Amphibians are like many others, they do not receive a lot of resources to enable people to do research. So for this to change and for us to save amphibians, resources must be increased, and that we get to learn more about amphibians. And then for you and me, report any mass death, deformities, or illegal collection of amphibians. Mass death is not just natural. Don't take it like it's normal. When you see mass death of amphibians, or you see amphibians with 5 limbs instead of 4, or 3 instead of 4, please report this. You can report this to the National Museums of Kenya, the nearest Kenya Wildlife Service office around you, so that action can be taken. These are not normal things. And also illegal collection. See, somebody can be collecting amphibians, and since, these are animals that are never really, people never pay so much attention to. Maybe the frog that is being collected is a threatened species. It's only found in Kenya. So if you don't act, you are also contributing to the reducing the population of amphibians we have. And also one thing we encourage right now with the citizen science, you take photos of amphibians in your surroundings and also share with us. You never know, the photo you take could be a new species that we've never seen. So every photo you take is important to us. It could be a species that was seen so many years ago. So if you take a photo, share with us, it will go a long way in helping us saving the frogs. So whose responsibility is it to save the frogs? It's everyone, it's you and me. The scientific communities like us, we do research. It's through the research being conducted by scientists that they got to know the various causes I mentioned about why amphibians are declining. But don't just do research and keep it. Do research and communicate your findings. Communicate with fellow researchers and also communicate with people, policymakers and government agencies, because it's them that will act on solutions that are given by scientists, and also politicians which pass laws that ensure protection of frogs and their habitats, and also communal and public and private landowners. You have a responsibility to save amphibians in your land. Amphibians just need small, they can survive, being that some of them are very small. They do not need so much land. They will not take a whole acre of your land, but just try and leave a portion of your land as natural as possible so that amphibians are able to survive. So if you may ask, are amphibians important to us? Why should we really take so much time, resources to conserve them? So, do amphibians' life matter? Yes, they do. Amphibians are food to many communities. So in Kenya here, I'm yet to see any community that feeds on amphibians. But our neighbors, especially those from West Africa, they feed on amphibians. Frog legs, it's a delicacy in other parts of the world, in France, in China. So it's food. Today we might not be eating frogs, but never, who knows, maybe in the 10 or 5 future years to come, we may be farming frogs for export to those countries that feed on frogs. Frogs as pets, yes. We have people who like the frogs, especially the colorful ones. The more unique a frog is, the higher it fetches in the pet world. Like the largest frog in the world, the Goliath frog in West Africa, it can fetch as high as $3,000 in the pet trade. So you never know, you can start a frog farm with the permission from Kenya Wildlife Service for export for pet trade. Amphibians have also been used in education and research. As I mentioned, we do this they do a lot of dissection through amphibians, and also people understand a lot of, things like developmental studies by looking at amphibians. Remember, amphibians' eggs are shellless, so anything that happens within that development activity that happens within the amphibian eggs is easy to observe, so they are very important in research. Amphibians are also used in medicine. I mentioned the toads that secrete, the screen secretions from the toads, for example. Some of them have been found to have some microbial effects. They are antifungal, they're antivirus, antibacterial. So research is going on to see how some of these secretions can be used to treating some of these diseases that we have. And also we have cultural stories and beliefs. I believe each and every community we have in Kenya, for example, you have a story or two about amphibians. Like for us, like for many, if you hear a frog call, you'll just hear somebody saying, no, I think the rains are coming. You don't have to look at something else, not even if there were no clouds in the sky, but they hear toads calling, they will say, oh, the rains are about to start. And because of this, you find that people will start preparing their land, they will start planting, because they know that that's a cultural belief that when the frog calls, it calls the rain. They say the frog calls the rain, so they know the rains are nearby. And also, I think there's people from central Kenya who believe that there's a seer who say that there are visitors who are going to come, which with the skin or some reed frog. So they say that he foretold the coming of the colonialists. So, I mean, each and every culture have a story to tell about amphibians. So amphibians are our heritage. So we should protect them, even if you don't see the benefit as an individual, but the fact that they have been with us for a long time in the surrounding where you are living, they have been there. So they are our heritage, and just because of that, we should protect them. And also amphibian skin, especially for the larger ones I've mentioned, the bullfrog, their skin can be used in leather trade. And also amphibians are very good pest controllers, maize farmers, rice farmers. When you see amphibians in your farms, please do not kill them. You never know how many pests they have eaten for you to harvest that rice, for you to harvest the maize. So they are very good pest control. So amphibians also inform you of the condition of the environment. As we have said over and over again, that because of the permeable skin, if you see amphibians disappearing from your surrounding, start thinking there's something wrong, because they are among the first animals to disappear when there's pollution in the environment. So, for you to learn more about amphibians, you can visit the Herpetology Section at the National Museums of Kenya, where we have scientists who were dedicated several years studying amphibians in various parts of the country. And you can also join Kenya Herpetofauna Working Group, which is a subcommittee of Nature Kenya. This is a group of just naturalists, people who just love to learn more about amphibians and reptiles. Kenya Herpetofauna Working Group organizes yearly course on amphibians and reptile course, which anybody is free to join if you want to know more about amphibians beyond this talk. And we also have other international organizations like Amphibian Web, where you can get more information about amphibians, what's happening across the world. And also the organization Save the Frogs that initiated why this day and why we are here. If you want to know more about Save the Frog, that is the website. Otherwise, I thank you so much for taking opportunity to learn about amphibians, to save the frogs of Kenya. So I would like to thank the Nature Kenya Youth Committee for the support, the Kenya Herpetofauna Working Group, Nature Kenya, which is the mother of both Kenya Herpetofauna Working Group and the Nature Kenya Youth Committee, Save the Frogs, and also the National Museum of Kenya. So away from this, we have the whole of this week is Amphibian Week. So we have several activities lined up from today all the way up to Friday, but the climax is going to be on Friday, May 2nd, where we are going to have several activities around the National Museums of Kenya. We are going to have a frog march, we are going to have talks, and we're also going to have live frog exhibition. So wherever you are, if you can join, please come and join us. For every call counts, and you are advised to act now. Thank you for listening, and thank you for observing Save Frogs Day.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Beryl, for such an insightful presentation about frogs and amphibians. That's really been very interactive. Yes, okay, yeah, all is in order. So there have been a lot of interaction that has been coming as the presentation was going on. And actually quite a number of questions have been shared through the chat box, and this is an opportunity that we will quickly just scan through them, maybe with a response from you, and then we'll also open the ground for participants to interact with you one-on-one. There's a first question that came from Dr. Victor Ikawa. It is asking, what are foam nest frogs?
Yeah, foam nest frog, there are a group of frogs. I didn't mention them in the who's who of amphibians of Kenya. I just selected a few. There are a group of frogs that lay their eggs in a foam. So the foams are made on trees. They lay the eggs inside this foam, inside this foam, and then the eggs develop inside the foam. And the foam is normally made above a water body, maybe a wetland, a swamp, or anything. So once the eggs have completed development, they hatch and they drop into the water, where now the tadpoles will continue their development and then metamorphose into adults and then again get out of the water. So it's just a group of frogs that lay their eggs in the foam nest.
Thank you for that response. I think Dr. Ikawa has been satisfied. There's another question that came in, and actually a response immediately after it. Maybe if you have something to add on. Given the bullfrog's appearance, don't they qualify as toads? Then Francis Waru responded that I don't think so, since they lack a parotid gland.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that is correct. And I mean, we just don't call them, we don't call animals toads just based on their sizes. We have toads which are very, very tiny. So one of the things is the parotid gland, which is the most important identification feature of toads. So bullfrogs are frogs, they're not toads.
Okay, thank you. There's a question from Pachola Franklin is asking, is there a mapping of amphibians in urban setups? That is, in current area, there are several areas where you can hear them along riparian on River Mokoyeti, and in Mukumoini area outside Chief's office, there is a breeding zone where the stream also flows into Langata High School. What can be done to safeguard them?
As I mentioned, we've not done everything. This is because of lack of personnel. Because in Kenya, if you want to learn about amphibians, it's only the few of us at the National Museums of Kenya. So there's a lot that we have not done. So that's why I was saying that in your area, what you can do, take photos, share, record the calls, and also share with us. But as I just mentioned in my talk, there are things that you can do as a person. Just protect the wetlands where the amphibians are staying. If you see that there are some deaths, you can contact us. And also maybe we can discuss further. Maybe you can come and see and do a day or two, something in some of these areas that she has mentioned. So maybe you can get in touch and see what we can do.
Thank you for that. There is one from Jack Amisi. It's actually more of a comment. I think our different culture and myths can also make the frogs very vulnerable. And there's a question from Simon Musila. What ecosystem services, for importance, do amphibians afford or provide to the environment or human being? I actually saw that you tackled that towards the end of your presentation. I was also entwined with another question, still from the same Simon Musila. What can we do to improve public knowledge about amphibians? We know so little about them. Maybe that's the reason why we have done so little to conserve them.
Yeah, it's true. There is no school in Kenya where you can go to learn about amphibians. Yeah, but one of the objectives of Kenya Herpetofauna Working Group is awareness creation. So we have tried visiting various parts of the country, telling people about amphibians, but a lot still needs to be done. So apart from people coming to register for the talks during the biology of a reptile amphibian course, I think we should organize more regular talks like this one so that people get to know more about amphibians. Because I said, unless you know them, you cannot conserve them. Sometimes you destroy a wetland simply because you didn't know that there are frogs, especially the aquatic ones, that is in that wetland. So it's just us to up our games in terms of creating awareness to the community.
Okay, thank you for that. There's a question from Ojola Franklin again. Do the different sounds have meaning?
Yes, the frog calls are made mostly by the males, and the function of these frog calls, especially the advertisement calls, is for the males to attract the female. So each species is going to have a unique call that a female of the same species is going to respond to. So if species A is calling, it's only the females of species A that can come for it, because the calls are meant to attract the females so that they can mate and, for reproduction. So that's why you hear that in your compound, you can hear almost 10 different calls. That tells you that we have 10 different species. So call species, calls are species specific, and they're done to attract the females of the same species. Yeah.
Right. Francis Warui is asking on how can we share the photos?
The photos, we have a WhatsApp group for the Kenya Herpetofauna Working Group, where anybody is allowed, is free to take a photo from any part of the country. You share with us. We always help in identification. What we only request people is that always give us the locality where you're taking the photo. If it's in Mombasa in Arabuko Sokoke Forest, just tell us, I took this photo from Arabuko Sokoke Forest, because it's important also to help us to know the distribution of the species. So maybe can share again the link to the Kenya Herpetofauna Working Group, where you can share the photos. Or you can just send them to Nature Kenya. I believe most of us in the audience are members of Nature Kenya, and they can always share them with us.
Okay, great. I also see another addition by Jason Tolosa. We can use a naturalist app to report and share amphibians and other nature records in any site.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
Yeah, great. So, Giacomo is saying the frog life matters because they are part of bioindicators. It's really true. There's a very nice comment here from Rupert Watson, our chairman. I have cash pads from Australia made from the skin of a cane toad.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's actually that I was saying that you never know. Today, amphibian might not be seen as important, but tomorrow, something, you can be told that you can start a frog farm where you export these things for food and also for leather trade. So it's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, Victor Ikawa, great presentation, Devin Dungu, and very enriching presentation. Thank you. So Simon Usina, amphibian species and populations are declining inside the protected areas worldwide. What should protected areas do to protect amphibian species found within the park boundary?
Yeah, maybe I mentioned a little bit of that. I'll say, like, maybe when you're doing the general management of the park, consider amphibians habitat. Things like ensuring that the wetlands are there. When you're constructing roads, make sure that the road does not separate, amphibian, where amphibian breed and where they stay away from the breeding season. So if you create a road, just make sure, maybe EIA would help a lot when you've been doing those things within the park, because you know what these new structures you're putting in the protected areas are going to affect all the biodiversity that happens within these protected areas.
Yeah, great. There's with the overwhelming urban developments, what challenges can be encountered in saving the frogs?
As I said, you just look at it, a frog versus a 15-story high-rise building. So sometimes it's never easy. It's really never easy to save the amphibians. But what I say, if the building has to be put up, then put an alternative, especially the green spaces now we have. Yeah. These green spaces can help to preserve this biodiversity we have within the urban setup.
Okay, great. And Jack Amis is saying we need to reward and recognize some researchers like Steve Spalls. I'm actually happy that Steve Spalls joined us today, and he's actually with us here online, and he's also posted a comment here that if anyone wants a free book on Kenya's amphibians, Google Kenya Reptile Atlas at the top, see downloads, click it. Last item on the list, click it, free download. Now
Steve Paul is one of our mentors, and he has contributed a lot to our understanding of the amphibians and reptiles of Kenya.
yeah, great. Yeah, very nice, and really happy to have him on board. He's also been one of our speakers in in this field. So welcome, Steve. There's also another comment from Margaret. Thank you, Dr. Beryl. Elias Maina, thanks, Dr. for the wonderful presentation. It's Simon Peter Ogola. Thank you, Dr. Berry, for the presentation. Do you have efforts to understand how environmental constraints could influence amphibian functional traits by taking biometry? Secondly, are there efforts to improve identification per se using sound IDs, just like with birds on eBird and Marlin? Simon Peter Ogola, Budongo Conservation Field Station in Masindi in Uganda. Any response to that?
Still reading it. I think we've not done that, understanding the environmental constraints by taking biometry. Other efforts to improve identification using sounds. Yes, we record amphibian sounds, but unfortunately we have not consolidated them into what can I say, a database into, we can say these are the focals of Kenya. So we've started that, we are in the process, but all of us in the section can be able to identify amphibians just by their calls, but away from the section, I mean, that is the NMK, we've not done so much to involve the public on how they can do that. So we still have a challenge in that because again of the manpower. Yes.
Okay, I see there are actually quite a number of questions. So people asking how they can join the WhatsApp group of reptiles and amphibians so that they can, share more experiences. So I'll be sharing the number shortly, and then you can contact them. That's actually the WhatsApp number, and then you can be added to that group. So Francis Waru is asking, let's say I spot a new species of an amphibian. Will I be credited or given the rights to name the new species?
Yes, you can name the species after him.
Okay. Brian Otiego, for the call from different groups, you mentioned that they occur at different time species. What informs this?
No, I didn't say, okay, I mean, the species it also helps in sexual selection, such that if a genus, we have maybe a group of frogs that call almost at the same time. So you find that like for the reed frogs, the ones I call the noisy neighbors, you can find 3-5 species in the same locality. Then one starts calling from 6:30 to by 7, if you go there, it's not there. So it helps also overcrowding at the site. And also it helps that the females can only respond to species-specific species-specific calls from the targeted male. So otherwise, if the calls are all together, maybe there could be females getting into males of species which are not of different species, and then the mating success will be low.
Excellent. Ruby Mangat is asking, do we know of any Kenyan species now extinct?
Initially, we had the Mount Elgon torrent frog, which was listed at some point as extinct, but then it was reviewed, and now it's one of the critically endangered species. It was last seen in 1962, so efforts are still there that we look for it and find it, but so far none has been listed as extinct.
Okay, great. And also, Howard already shared the link to the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much, Howard, for making things easier. And also another link how participants can also follow their Facebook page, which is really great. There's another question: is there a value addition for frog skin locally?
At the moment, I'm not aware of anybody harvesting amphibian skins, and also you cannot do it from wild specimens, and also we do not have anybody doing frog farming locally that we are aware of. Yes.
Great, okay. Martha Mutiso, great presentation, Dr. Beryl. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Professor John and Margaret Cooper from UK. Thank you, Dr. Beryl, for your excellent and informative lecture and your scientific career in general. Greetings to Nature Kenya. Thank you, Dr. Malonza, Stephen Sports, and others. We hope to see you soon again when we come to Kenya in August. Karibu sana. Yeah, so any case of interbreeding?
Oh, yes, that cannot be ruled out. I think it happens, but I don't think we have any case that I can mention. Yeah, because we've not done any locally to support that. But I know interbreeding do occur in other species that have been recorded elsewhere. But locally, I do not have any evidence to support that.
Okay, there's another question from Noreen Mutoro. Are there opportunities for other external researchers to collaborate and assist with data analysis and mapping of existing data to help contribute to amphibian research in Kenya?
Lots of opportunity, Noreen. Yes, as you see, you hear me talking about lack of manpower because away from the NMK, we do not have many amphibian researchers in the country. So we're also looking for collaborators. We're also looking for extra funding to help us do research from different parts of the country.
Okay, yeah. So whom should they contact? That's what she's asking.
You can contact me. I'm currently the head of the Herpetology Section, so I can be of help.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully, maybe before we end the presentation, you will share your contact in the chat box. Then you can easily.
Somebody else. There's somebody.
Yeah, somebody is saying share your LinkedIn. Yeah, that's it.
Somebody's talking about do you have antivenom?
Yeah, do you have an antivenom or how are the cases handled? It's from Michael Muridi.
Okay, antivenom. So far we do not have any venomous amphibians that I know of, unless he's talking about the antivenom for snakes. We also do not have locally manufactured antivenom, but I believe in various hospitals they have antivenoms that help them deal with the snake bite cases.
Yeah, great. And there's also a comment from Dr. Oliver Nasirwal. Thank you very much, Dr. Beryl Bwong, for the excellent presentation. I have learned a lot and wish you a successful Frog Day celebration and exciting week. So, what are the effects of banded rubber frog if eaten?
Banded rubber frog is one of the poisonous frogs we have around. So I don't know. Yeah. My colleague is telling me about dizziness, but yeah, stomach upset. But maybe I'll get back to you if you allow me with more information on that. But it's one of the few snakes with venoms. I mean poison. Sorry.
Okay, and Thomas O'Day is asking, have we had cases where NMK has been invited to do before and after surveys before the controlled fires in our parks to see how much for an impact those fires have on amphibians?
Some years back, we used to, when there was burning being done in the Nairobi National Park, I think we participated as herpetologists, and we were able to give our feedback based on the pre-burning assessment in the course of the post.
Okay, and Edward is asking, how do you identify the frogs which are venomous? Is there a way you can easily tell which one is venomous, is non-venomous?
I have to say most of the frogs we have in Kenya are harmless. I only say that toads, some of the secretions we have for a few toad species and the banded rubber frog that are poisonous, I cannot even talk about venomous. So it's not easy, you have to know it species by species, but the red banded rubber frog, because of this bright red and red, orange, plus black color, is a warning sign that it's a poisonous frog.
Great. Then we've actually gone through all the questions that came in through the chat box, and because we still have a few minutes to go, I will actually open the floor to participants. Maybe they can interact one-on-one with our speaker today. So maybe you can just raise your hand. We give you an opportunity to unmute, you ask your question or give a comment. The floor is open to anyone. And just raise your hand, then we give you an opportunity. Any question from anyone? Okay, yes, Simon, Peter, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the presentation and reminding us that today is World Frog Day. I have one or two concerns, could be comments, could be questions. I work with the Budongo Conservation Field Station in Masindi, and we happen to monitor amphibians. For the last 12 years, we have monitored amphibians across a landscape with several gradients of disturbance, more in the forest and also in the communities and other habitats where we have sugarcane, and also communities try to see how the assemblages could be influenced by the anthropogenic actions. My call is if there are people who could be interested in maybe how we could make meaning out of the data, how we could further improve the monitoring or the survey, please, you're welcome, or you can alert and we make the contact. Then also the question I asked about having biometry to further understand how the environment could actually be a factor that could perhaps shape given species, could be given genera. It's something we have been thinking about, and if there are people who could have interest and further guidance, we are really positive towards making contact. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe we would be get in touch, especially on your last comment about the biometry. Would be interested to see how we can learn from you, because you said you've done it for over years. I believe now you have data for showing the trends of various species over the 12 years that you've done it. That is great work. Maybe you can share your contacts so that
Yeah, I think yeah.
I've dropped my mail in the chat.
Yes, already have. Thank you.
I've seen it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, yes, Ray, you can unmute and go ahead with your question or comment.
Hiya. I just want to say a great talk. From us, I work at Watamu Snake Farm, and we've seen a huge decline in our night adder species found all around Nairobi and even a month from up here. And I think that's definitely to do with the frogs sort of on a decline in some of these areas. So we need to do a lot more work to try and promote saving frogs and looking after these areas. So I'm also keen, I'll put down my email address, but very keen to see how we can help out in Watamu, promoting frogs a lot more, and also doing some work and research and seeing what the numbers are like here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the excellent work, Ray. Thank you. That is commendable. Anyone with another question or comment? Okay, at this particular opportunity, actually, I don't think we'll just, bring the curtains down without hearing the voice of Steve, because he's still here. Hi, Steve, can you hear us? Steve, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Just
Oh, good. Oh, good. Sorry, I had my microphone turned off.
Okay. Anything for the participants today?
Sorry, I missed that. You have to say that again.
Okay, no, we're just giving you an opportunity to say hi to the participants and maybe any comments from your end.
Well, I think it's been absolutely excellent. Thank you very much, Dr. Beryl. I really enjoyed it, and
Thank you too.
I'm not the expert here. Dr. Beryl is, but I think we've all learned a lot. So it's been extremely useful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Really happy to have you on board today. Okay, we still have 3 more minutes to go before we end the session. Yes, Tom. And go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
On the last slide on the proposed activities for the week, could you just provide a brief on what is expected to happen, in the sense that someone can easily plan on what day to come, or it's just there will be, if there's a specific time they can come in, something like that?
Yeah, the activity starts from 9 a.m. and we expect it to run up to 1 o'clock. So we are going to have a procession around the museum, slightly from gate A to gate B, outside through Kipande Road. And then we are going to have a talk and certain interactive activities involving school kids. And we're also going to have frog exhibitions, live frog exhibition, and a few more. So it's open to the public. You are free to come.
Thank you.
Okay, you're most welcome. Thank you very much, Tom, for that, and also Dr. for the clarification. We really look forward to this great day to be on Friday from 9 a.m. Thank you. One last comment, question before we end the session. Yeah, I already see Franklin was asking, can one take part in the exhibition? I've already been told it's open to public, so anyone can attend the exhibition. Karibu sana, Frank. Okay.
Also, just a quick something. I also saw a paper that was shared with me recently on a new species of frog described in fossil records, and apparently it's still in existence, and it was also discovered some 500 years ago. So I think this is also a new area to research on and see what we had in the past and what we have now. Probably I'll share the paper so that people interested can also see. I've seen it was published through the National Museums of Kenya.
Yeah, that's interesting. We are yet to get that news. So we'll be looking forward to reading about the amphibians discovered through the fossils.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Also, yes, Steve's Pauls has shared his contact there. So for all the amphibians enthusiasts, you can always get in touch with him through the email that is shared. So Thank you very much, everyone, for making time to join us this particular afternoon for the interactive session that we've had with Dr. Beryl. So maybe, Dr. just your parting shot to the audience before we end the session.
My parting shot is that amphibian life matters. So please, wherever you are, the little you can do to save the frogs, do it. You will be thankful tomorrow for what you did today for the frogs. Thank you for joining us and taking time to join the talk today. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. I have also shared our official email address that you can get in touch with us with. Should you maybe need more information about today's talk, maybe if you also want to make a follow-up with our today's speaker. Otherwise, thank you very much, and yep. YouTube channel. Someone. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Tom, for sharing that. So, wish you all a happy evening ahead, and see you again next month for another insightful virtual talk. You can leave at our own pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.